Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the official series on Kaspersky Security Center Cloud Console. These are educational videos, and we will have a few different videos in this series to cover a range of different aspects of the solution, from manual configuration, policies, tasks, user roles, and many other scenarios. In this particular episode, we are going to be having a look at configuring network protection as part of the Kaspersky Security Center Cloud Console. Now, with regards to actually creating these necessary configurations, what we would need to do is to create a policy. For us to do that, we will go to the Assets or Devices section, move over to Policies and Profiles. Then we will select the administration group for which you want to create a particular rule set or policy. Once we get to that stage, we're going to click on Add and select the application for which you want to create a policy. Once we've clicked on Next, we will read through the Kaspersky Security Network statement carefully. If you agree with the statements with regards to KSN, we select Agree to use the Kaspersky Security Network and we click on Next. Now, just a quick note on the Kaspersky Security Network. This is a crucial part of defense against more advanced kinds of threats in general, so it's definitely advisable to have a look at the details. Furthermore, when we specify the mode in which the Kaspersky endpoint security is used, especially on protected devices, we go ahead and we move on to the next slide. If you want, you can go ahead and you can change the default name or the default status and even the default inheritance settings of the policy. So the inheritance obviously applies to subordinate groups or subgroups that you may create in future or even during your implementation. Then we go ahead and we click on the Application Settings tab. And over here we go ahead and we click on Save and Exit. In the left pane, we select the category that you want and we edit the settings of said policy. And then you can go ahead and edit the policy settings in each particular category or section. Once we are done with our configuration, we can click on Save to save the policy itself. As part of the solution, you also have the opportunity to go ahead and assign an owner of a specific device that is connected to your administration server or even virtual administration server. To do this, you will go ahead and have a look on the left hand side, go to the Users and Roles section and then select Users and Groups. We're going to go ahead and click on the name of the user account that you want to assign a specific device owner. On the Devices tab, we're going to click on Add and we specify the specific device that you need to assign to a particular user. Once you are done, you can click on OK and the selected device will then be added to the list of devices assigned to that particular user. Furthermore, we can go ahead and we can create a user role. So to create a user role, we can go to the Users and Roles section and we go and select Roles. From here, we will click on Add and enter the name of the new role in the new role name window that opens up. We go ahead and give it an appropriate name, obviously, for whatever role you define it as. We click on OK to apply the changes. And on the General tab, we can edit the role name if needed. On the Settings tab, however, this is where we edit the role scope and the policies and profiles associated with this particular role. On the role scope, we can click on Add, and on the Define Scope step, we select the administration group that you want to add to the user role scope. On the Selected Users step, we select users and user groups that you want to add to a user role scope. On the Access Rights tab, we edit the rights for access to Kaspersky applications or for whatever else you require it, and then we can go ahead and click on Save the changes. Now in the next part, we will talk about editing the scope of a particular user role. So what we're going to do is obviously we're going to have a look at to add users and user groups and administration groups to the scope of a particular user role. To do that, we go to the Users and Roles section, then Users and Groups. Then we select the Users or the Groups tab. Once we go ahead, we select the checkboxes next to the users or user groups that you want to add to the user role scope. We go ahead and we click on the Assign Role button. We will then proceed through the wizard by using the next button, and when you are done, click on Finish to close the wizard. For now, what we will have a look at is creating a policy profile. So you can create more than one policy profile, of course, but in this case, to create a policy profile, we go to the Assets section, which is the Device section, and then we click on Policies and Profiles. We're going to go ahead and click on the name of the policy whose profile you want to view. We open up the Policy Profiles tab, we go ahead and click on Add. And if you want to change the default name and the default inheritance settings of the profile, you can go ahead and do that. We will then select the Application Settings tab. Alternatively, you can click Save and Exit, of course, but if you wanted to make changes, that's where you would do it. So in the Application Settings tab, in the left-hand pane, you can select the category that you want, and in the Results pane on the right-hand side, you can edit the settings for the profile itself. So you can edit the policy profile settings in each and every one of these categories. Once you are done, you can click on Save to save the profile itself. Now, what we can do is we can associate a policy profile with particular roles. So to associate a role with a policy profile, we once again go to the Users and Roles section. We go ahead and we click on Roles. We click the name of the role that you want to associate with a policy profile, and we select the Settings tab. Once there, we will scroll down to the Policies and Profiles section. Go ahead and click on Edit. And then to associate the role with a policy profile, we select the checkbox next to the profile with which you want to associate the role. We click on New Policy Profile and specify a name for said profile, and then we go ahead and configure the profile settings. Once done, we click the Save button and select the checkbox next to the new profile. Now, as a quick reminder, a policy profile is effectively creating a customized rule per role instead of for a group of devices. So for example, if I want to have 5 people in a group, that's perfectly fine, but one of which they need to have some different rule sets applied to them, we can go ahead and we can use these policy profiles to assist us in this kind of configuration. Next up, we will have a look at some of the maintenance and the day-to-day administration of the solution, and by that we will look at forced synchronization. Now, synchronization by default usually happens every 15 minutes. However, this obviously differs and depends on the configuration of your system. But we can go ahead as administrators and force a synchronization between the administration server and a managed device. So to do this, we can go to the Assets section and then Manage Devices. Once we are there, we will click on the name of the device that you want to forcefully synchronize with the primary administration server in the cloud. Once you are doing this, a property window will open up with General section selected. We click on the Force Synchronization button, and the application synchronizes the selected device with said administration server. Additionally, we can also make use of the vulnerability assessment capability within the solution itself to create the Find Vulnerabilities and Required Updates task. So to do this, we can go ahead and we can create the Find Vulnerabilities and Required Updates task by going to our Asset section, then following through by clicking on Tasks. From here, we will go ahead and click on Add, and then the new task wizard basically starts up. In that wizard, we will follow the steps and we will have a look at finding the specific define vulnerabilities and required updates task type for the Kaspersky Security Center Cloud Console application itself. Once we get there, we can specify once again a customized name, and we will create and select the devices to which this particular task will be assigned. So you can think of it as the scope. Once we've defined the scope, we can click on Next. If we want to modify any of the default settings, we can go ahead and we can enable the Open Task Details when creation is complete option, and that would be obviously on the finished task creation page. And if you do not enable this option, the task is created with the default settings, but you can still go back to the task itself and you can modify the default settings later at any given time by looking at the task section again, looking for that name of the task that you have defined in the very beginning. We click to add and or specify the folders to which applications are usually installed. By default, this list is empty. So we will select Enable Advanced Diagnostics and click the Save button. Now, we can also evaluate and limit the event load on the database itself. To evaluate and limit the loading of events into the database, we can click the settings icon next to the Kaspersky Security Center Cloud Console Administration. On the General tab, we will select the Events Repository section, and from here we will enable to store events after devices are deleted option. In the maximum storage period days or by days edit box, we can specify the number of days to store events relating to deleted objects. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so very much for watching this episode on the Kaspersky Security Center Cloud Console. We will be publishing several episodes with regards to this topic. Please have a look at them, and we will see you in the next one. Thank you and goodbye.